thing in my industry is obviously we're becoming more and more centric to application, business logic, and basically day-to-day life. And in the middle of this thing is disruption. I'm not going to go through each one of those things, but if you sit in my shoes, the problem of that disruption is it's going to change the way we have to build network. And it's all about dimension of scale, economic, and who's going to pay for that. So right now, my biggest problem is not grow. I'm in a funny industry. Projection of traffic is going to be 40 times what we know today is what's going to be needed within 8 years. So that basically means I have to increase the scale 5 times every year of all the product I build, just to keep up. And usually we're conservative in those things. So the problem became twofold. Innovation to keep up with demand, pace of innovation because can we build this whole thing as an industry, as a single company? And obviously the answer is no. The other challenge we have is the application world, thing in its space, in its silo. The networking world is just moving the bits, and the storage is just consuming the demand one way or the other. So all this thing is going to blend. The question is, are we willing to open the door of our mutual industry to get essentially a better customer experience? Because at the end, it's going to matter. So think about it. Are we really connected together across those divisions? So the ecosystem of application thinks into, oh, maybe that would be great that I know if I have the bandwidth to send my, for rich content, if I can basically reach out people and knowing where you are. So the application world is trying to guess what the network knows. And on the other side, the network is trying to say, hey, wait a minute, if I know the nature of your traffic, it's voice, or it's mission critical, or you're paying more than this other guy, well, I could queue, I could prioritize, I could encrypt, I could do a bunch of stuff. The problem is we're going through those questions, trying to resolve essentially the same thing in a totally different way. So things are going to have to change. And what I mean by this is the new network or the new experience or the new ways we're going to deal together, and I mean you and us, because you build application or you consume service or you're a service provider or you're over-the-top guy, we're going to have to figure out essentially how the implications are network aware. So you know where is the people, over which type of bandwidth, what kind of device, and how far are they to reach out. Are they mobile, wire, or in motion? All of those things. If you know the type of attachment of that person, you can create rich media or you can say basic text. Because depending on the speed and feed, you're going to have to adapt the content to this. The end user, if I know who you are, I can put a name, I can put a priority, I can put a profile, and then I can service you real time or after the fact. It's all a matter of, are you willing to pay to get that information? And at the network, we're going to have to compute all this thing, because at the end, we're the string between the two. And I guarantee you, when the string breaks, it makes national news. I just crashed out a bunch of network last week, and it makes national news. So it's not to say we're at fault on everything, but we're going to have to make it work. That's all this industry is all about. So what you're going to see in this industry is the realization that it needs a change. Because despite the fact of the growth is 40 times over 10 years, and we're all in there, right, we're going to sell more stuff, we know that within probably 3 to 5 years, the economics are going to be such that nobody can pay for this growth. In other words, the Facebook growing billion of users without having to pay a dime on the carrier, you have to ask yourself, is free really free? And who's going to pay for this? And I think this is where essentially we need to squeeze the two worlds together. So not only we have a mutual understanding of what it will take to make it work, but we're going to have to basically instrument both sides so the experience is better. And ultimately, the business model will have to be in place so it's affordable to do it. And the last time my industry got excited about growth and forgot business model is the bubble. Man, the bubble was great for my industry, but at the end, there was no economic model to make it work. That's why today we need to talk right now about this thing. That's why it's a new deal, and that's why out of it will come new type of alliance, partnership, ecosystem, and the technology will have to change. Because think about it, how do I make the two worlds basically that have ignore each other, basically talk to each other? Well, essentially from the application, they want to know essentially, hey, here I'm coming, network, get ready for me. And get ready for the type of user that I'm going to bring over your network. For the network, it's like, hey, by the way, do you know we know a lot about who you are, where you are, what you do, what you want, and what you consume. That sounds like good advertising business when you think about it. So there's ways to do it, and the concept emerging in this industry is about we're going to make the network programmable, so we understand better the user profile, the notion of enterprise, which, by the way, where's the enterprise these days? It's not in the campus anymore, it's everywhere. It's on your desktop, it's with you. So this notion is evolving as well. Clearly, the world of virtualization cannot happen with a dumb network. I mean, as much as you can move the stack in the VM world, somewhere the stack needs to cross the wire. And we're going to have basically to bridge this between our partner and the industry. So I'm trying to say it's more than application, it's the whole stack, down to storage, that's going to have to change. How you do billing in this work, the new business that needs to be created, and obviously it's all about security connectivity, and who needs to see the data when. So we're going to build a new network. My company realized that in 2009 and say, you know what, time to open the box. It's probably the last frontier of technology that was never open to anybody else than the equipment vendor to do the work. So we're going to open it. We decided to launch this whole thing in 2009. We're not the only one. The whole industry is realizing it needs to be done, but for my company to survive, we were limited by the size of innovation. Look, my code base is 45 million line of code. It grows 10% a year. I was listening to the gentleman that said it grew 2 million in 8 years. I'm like, wish I was in that business, but it's not enough fast. I still have marketing that say you need to release more, faster, because cannot do the innovation. So I end up to a system where I say, can't do it by myself. So we're going to have to open the box to connect everything and empower everyone. So the intent in the industry is to make the application much more capable to inform the network to learn from the other side and broadcast its capacity, and we're going to meet in the middle. And we're going to create, essentially, a new ecosystem where application, service integrator, and all of those people are going to develop those programmatic language, those gateway, those profile, those business model, and you will instrument the network to do what it's good at, which is moving the bits. That's what I call the sausage. I don't think you want to be in that sausage, but we need to make it smart. And you're going to see in the industry a bunch of new ideas about how to do it, and I don't think there's a universal truth. We all have to work together. So just to see how it changed my ecosystem, I'm in the bottom. I move the bits, kind of boring, but it needs to be done. But it needs to be done at scale. It's not to say an application has to be directly on my box. I think there's few applications that needs to see the packet, control the flow, all those things. But we know that at the level of the network, you could do a lot about policy, identity, service location, dynamic billing, all those things. So that's the ecosystem we're going to open. And on top of this, think about it. The applications were never designed thinking they could be mobile outside the campus. They're a little bit dumb. So we're going to need to basically do a much better job to redesign it, starting from the mobility down to the mainframe, not the other way around. So there's a lot of innovation to do. Stay posted. Yeah, there's ways to create new business model. We're all going there. The application side gets it. The storage side gets it. The network needs to work with all those people now. And it's a brand new industry, and I have 2 minutes left. And I just want to plug ecosystem, because that's the deal. And talk a little bit about how we work with HCL, for example. Like any company, we started to, is it cheaper to go with a partner? So basically, if you go in this business of partnership, it tends to be cost outsourcing. Then you go into core versus context. What should I keep my core competency? What my partner can do better? And that's usually an adaptation. And out of it, you have to build trust. When the people start to see the economic works, then you can talk about bigger things, like basically value creation or lean engineering are all ways to go beyond the initial engagement. And I think a lot of you are there with partners like HCL, and we are at that level. Where we're heading right now is to say, for their growth to sustain, my growth as a company to sustain is the new that need to be created, is that new value creation that I don't know how it's going to end. But we know that it's more than one company, more than one industry, and now we need to integrate across And that's the hope I think we're going to do. And I think the biggest thing for us, which is hard for my engineer, is to accept the fact that innovation can happen not by them only. It's so hard to get the engineer to say, stop solving everything, because you're going to kill the company by trying to do it.